I'm going to call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Justin Allen, Roberto David Gonzalez,
Here.
María Elena Morales,
Present.
Cristina Dávila,
Here.
Teresa Fonseca,
Here.
Stanley Green,
Here.
Michelle Romani,
Here.
and Ms. Rebecca Sepulveda.
Here.
For the record, Madam Chair, you do have one.
Thank you. We're going to consider approval of minutes for the regular meeting of January 9th, 2020.
Madam Chair, I do have an amendment to the meeting, to the minutes. Board member Maria Elena Morales had not received notifications, so she did not know that there was a meeting. She was not aware, so I moved that we add an excuse for her. We excuse her for the January meeting.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Any corrections for the minutes of January 9th? If there's no other corrections, do we have a motion to approve the meeting?
I move to approve the minutes.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the motion passes to approve the minutes.
Madam Chair, may I go back to the roll call? I inadvertently missed moving to excuse Board Member Justin Allen Hansmaker for work-related purposes.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? So the motion passes to excuse Justin. Do we have any citizen comments?
I don't have any cards for citizen comments, Madam Chair.
We'll skip item 4 since no one signed up for citizen comments. Item 5, public hearing and consideration of the following.
Madam Chair, I request permission to recuse myself from item 5 as I'm related to the applicant. So,
Yes. Okay. On item 5, item A, public hearing and possible action to consider new improvements on our block 200 Western Division located at 1102 Santa Maria Avenue in order to provide and install a grid tied solar power system, solar panels. Historic District of St. Peter's Historic District, HDLB-04-2020, District 8. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So the public hearing is open.
Madam Chair, if you'll allow, with all of our commissions and boards, we are implementing a quick and brief staff presentation. Just meant to be a few minutes. For those that are on the board, you may be able to go through the notes very quickly, but for those that are new, but especially for the public, sometimes it can be, it's helpful to have context set, and so with all of our boards and commissions, we've been presenting a very quick staff report where we just go through the maps and where we are and what we're talking about and what the staff recommendation is, and then your discussion can start as normal. If you so choose, we would love to do that tonight and into the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
You introduce yourself?
Alejandrina Sanchez, Planning Department, Madam Chair. We have the overview, which is the applicant as presented in your packets. The property, the description for the property is Old Block 200, 1102 Santa Maria. This property is within the historic district of St. Peter's, and the request is for the installation of some solar panels. Um, This is so you can have, approximate location, but for the 1102 Santa Maria. This is the building. As you can see, it's on Santa Maria. It's front Santa Maria, but what they're proposing is they submitted 2 proposals, and we reviewed the plans with the applicant in order to suggest installation on, the roof where it's not visible from the streets. And as you can see on your recommendation on your packets, this is the location for the property. Those are the maps within St. Peter's, as I explained. Staff recommendation, we're supporting, and like I said, we suggested that there be installed where they're not visible from the street. We attach for you to the exhibits A and B. They're not on the presentation. There's several pages, and the applicant will explain the installation process and what is it that they're proposing. And you're gonna see the site plan as they're proposing to install. We explain also that this has to go through the regular process for permitting with building department. So they have to comply with whatever, codes they need to, or ordinances. And this is for the motion before you to either support or deny this application.
Thank you.
And do you have any questions?
Do you know what part of the building, I used to work there about 20 years ago, and I know they were adding and adding to the building, but where they're planning to put them, do you know if that's part of the historic building or if that was an addition?
No, it's on the original building. It's several places, and everything is gonna happen within the roof where you cannot see it from either of the streets. So they're gonna present that installation. Like I said, they changed that installation when we had the meeting with them. And they're, willing to work with the board.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
If there's no other question, we'll ask the applicant to.
The applicant will be presenting before you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you so much for taking your time. I know we all volunteer for the board, but yes, so as Ms. Sanchez
Can you
mentioned.
introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Christian Chapa, and I work at PEG Energy. We are a 100% local solar company here. That's we're all Laredoans as well as the owners as well. And this would
And
be.
is the owner's representative here?
No, the owners aren't here. My name is Richard. I'm the director over at PG Energy as well. So I'm just going to be supporting Chris.
Let-
He's prepared a package.
Let me hold on and ask a question. So the applicant is not here? Is
Yes.
my understanding? Oh,
They thought you meant the owner of their company.
oh,
yeah.
no, the owner, the applicant. Okay, can you introduce yourself, please?
My name is. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Mike Smith, and I am a pastor with the United Methodist Church appointed to Holding Institute. So I am representing United Methodist Women that are the owners of the facility.
Okay. And then you're authorizing these gentlemen to make a presentation for you?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. And pretty much just as Ms. Alejandrina had mentioned, we did go ahead and draw up 2 proposals, right? We obviously do consider the fact that there's situations where sometimes the panels cannot be seen from the street, or maybe we want to get away from that. One of the main purposes to why we wanted to present the panels on the street, as you may see, I don't know if I can highlight.
If you can see.
Oh, actually, I can look at this. So as you can see here, based on the section that we kind of came up with, you can see the fact that the panels are located on the south southern line, as well as we'll be building a carport structure as well. That pretty much the main purpose for having the panels in that positioning is because of orientation. Orientation plays a key role in installing solar panels, because we got to make sure and consider the production that it's going to have, because that's going to affect the overall cost at the end of the day for the institution. So at that point in time, we did create that plan with the knowledge of the fact that sometimes we don't want to be able to see the panels from the outside. Like I said, this is our first option, simply because of its optimal positioning of panels for the production and associated with the cost of the future investment for the institution. But as well as we're trying to raise awareness that solar is a benefit. We do understand that there's comments from people that it works, it doesn't work. We're here to say that it does. We just got to make sure that the public knows how to do it right, pretty much. But yeah, so in which case that wouldn't kind of work for us. We do have second option number 2, where we would put the panels on the other structure as well. This one does have certain orientation, but we do got to consider the shading of the trees, which is why we want to go ahead and preferably have them optimal on the optimal roof on the other side of the compound. I don't know if y'all have any questions as of now.
What street is on the right that we see there, just to orient ourselves?
So it would be Santa Maria and Washington, correct? Yes, ma'am. And we do outline here pretty much everything as we going into the system, the elevation, we're looking at positioning where the panels will be built. We have
Let's look at the elevation because we didn't get to see it.
the elevation.
Kind of tricky to picture, trying to picture all that is hard to, it'd almost help to go over there, but I don't think we have time to do that.
So if you guys want to see the elevation. Oh, for the carport? Yeah, the carport would be actually
The second drawing that you were going to show us wasn't placed correctly on the screen, and that's why I was asking to see that again. I believe the second page you indicated was the elevations.
Yeah, there's nothing on it. No pictures. Do you have pictures of what the building would look like with the panels?
After, yeah, we have these. So we do have sketches for them. I do have a picture of the carport as well, this carport side.
So there we can see in the background the
train tracks.
no, we're looking for where the panels are
sorry.
in locations to the building.
Carport, the panels are on top of the carport?
Half of them are. They're option 1 is half on the carport and half on this whole building.
So on this building, we're looking at
You'd be looking at this structure right here. So you'd be looking at it from this side.
yes.
Now,
Carport and
which is Washington and which is Santa Maria there?
so here you have Santa Maria running this way, and then you have Washington on this end.
Okay.
Right. The dimensions of the actual carport itself. And then we do have pictures as well of the original building. I know originally, historically, from what we were told here, the historical portion of the building would be this one right here. So our proposal was to put paneling over on the next building down.
Oh, okay.
And
And
so
on the back side, correct?
Well, it would be, no,
On the
since
side.
this part is south oriented, that'd be the best placement for the panels.
that was your original plan.
Originally, yes, ma'am.
But now you're proposing to put them on
Correct.
Okay, can you point to the areas of the roof that would have the panels?
Yes, actually.
Yeah, so the first one would actually be this area, because it's south oriented, but then we do have the option of this area over here. It's also south oriented, and then I believe this one is east oriented.
East. Mm-hmm.
So the only issue there was just the shading from the tree. There's going to be a little bit of loss of power from the shading. So our first initially, we would like to actually install here if possible. If this wasn't a possibility, option 2 would be to install on the east and south end of the inside of the building. So it wouldn't be viewable from the street in that case. And then I believe the carport would be
Right behind that, exactly.
Right. So carport would be back here. So if we want to, carport would be back here. Okay.
More than anything, the options were served just as a precaution, just taking a step back and looking at it from y'all's point of view as well. Ideally, our main I guess goal would be to have them on this end, simply because I know we want to work with the Holdings Institute to create a garden that's self-sustainable. Pretty much, it'll be powered by a little water well that produces water from the humidity in the air, and that would be powered through solar. And the purpose of that would be to, again, have the outreach with the community and just kind of show them how it works and use it as a little educational portion of Holdings Institute. Would y'all have any other questions for us?
Are you guys the ones doing the installation as well?
Yeah, we're
Us?
The good thing about us no.
Yeah.
Us, no, but our company is the good thing about our company is that it is 100% local. So the engineers are located here. Our owners are direct bosses. I'm the director. Chris is actually a project manager. Previously was a sales rep. But I guess long story short, good installation crew from start to finish. It's all PG Energy. It's not contracted out. So the only people directly that would be doing it is just us.
I'm sorry, the reason I ask is, do you know when the roof was originally installed? The roof that's on there, when was it done?
It was just redone, I want to say in 2006.
Okay.
They just redid it.
Yeah, the portions that would be, with the panels was 2006.
Yeah, nonetheless, we do conduct a background, a little study on the property to make sure, the equipment that we're putting on there is up to par.
Well, the only reason I ask is code. I mean, when the roof might have been installed a long time ago, that's the reason I asked the year roof. Because code back then wasn't to put plywood
Right,
under.
yeah.
It had paneling. There was a lot of gaps. So
Right.
installing solar panels might be tricky on something like that. That's the only reason I was asking.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, nonetheless, we do conduct little studies, and this is an example of one as well. I'm sure it's
We warrant the roof as well. So before we start any installation, we'll send our engineering team and then just technicians to check it out before we start. So yeah, on our part, we'll make sure that it's structurally sound. Otherwise, I think we would probably just put on the report if possible.
Yeah, exactly. On our end, internally, we do conduct a little study on the property just to make sure, like you said, assess the actual physical roof and make sure that the panels would be sustainable. There's been times where we were required by the city and permitting department to pull engineering reports, in which case we can at any point when it's required, and so we can do that. But we also do a little analysis for the property owner. That way they're able to see the way production is affected throughout the year, right? In this case, it is March, and we did use this example, but you can see the way the sun moves, the sun patterns. That way we're not over-projecting production and, in terms of savings as well. But yeah, we do it across March, June, and December, which are the 3 main points of the position rates.
Was the building also looked at in terms of what energy savings or if it's properly insulated and such?
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am. We do conduct our studies, and I think we propose about a 30 to 40% offset on the property.
Any other questions?
Yes, I do. I'm having a little bit visual problem here because
okay.
when you pointed out the south is actually on Washington
On
Street.
Washington, yes, ma'am.
But that would be visible.
That would be visible,
So
yes.
that you prefer that, but
we
your
also have a
proposal
backup, yes.
that we have here, what we have here on our screen, is really in the inside.
Yes,
in the
correct.
inside courtyard.
So the
Correct.
staff recommended that proposal.
Okay.
And they're hoping
they're
that
hoping, yes.
they can get the one on the Washington.
Okay.
Street.
Just
'Cause
want to
that's-
make sure because
that's
Yeah,
more
no,
optimal
yes,
for-
you're absolutely right.
That's more
Like I
optimal
mentioned,
for
this is
you,
like
so-
proposed, This is like our backup just in case.
Is that because you're saying that it would be optimum
Optimal production. for the
optimal production?
system.
They would get more production from the solar
Do you
panels.
have any idea what the difference would be?
Yeah, E's usually does drop. We go based off a 1300 kilowatt production conservatively, right? Usually when you have it oriented, it comes up to 1420, and then you just multiply it by the size of the system, which will give you a good offset. I want to say it'd be about at least in this case about 4,000 kilowatts, 5,000 kilowatt difference.
Basically, the orientations, south is always going to be the best because it receives sunlight all day long. And then, of course, the sun's going to rise from the east instead and the west. So east and west is usually a secondary option. The only side that you would want to use is north. And then talking in terms of percentages, there's just shading, and then the distribution of the panels also kind of comes into play. So typically what we like to do is have the design ready and then just show production differences. I don't know if we have it with us, just to show the difference between project 1 and 2. But typically, if you can put it on the south, then it's going to produce quite a bit. I think judging by just where the tree is positioned, and then using a bit of the south, it's still good, but it is going to receive considerable shade. And then the east side might actually get shaded quite a bit as well because of that tree. I mean, I think it's safe to say maybe 20% reduction at
And is the shading affect only the area it shades, or will it affect the entire panel?
No.
Just the area that gets shaded? Okay.
Exactly. So there's going to be parts of the system that are going to be receiving direct sunlight, so those are still going to produce.
Mhm.
The portions that you shade, that's where the losses are going to occur. So it's
Now,
going to be
can-
at different times of the day.
Can the difference be made up by having additional panels? Because
It
I
could,
noticed
yes.
that on that long wall or roof area, it looks like there's room for a few more panels. Can that make up the
To scoot them
difference?
over, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
It would just, the cost would change, that's the only thing. So adding more panels would change the cost quite, just a bit, depending on how many that we were actually
Yeah.
going to add.
Or if you just moved half of them down all the way to further away from the tree and leave a gap in the middle
Yeah.
where the
yeah,
tree
exactly.
area is.
Yeah, that's what we would probably do. Maybe make like a little gap.
A little gap in there.
For clarification, Alejandrina, staff is approving the option with it on the inside, correct?
Correct.
They're recommending approval, not on the Washington side.
That's right.
Okay, I just needed that clarification. Okay.
Oh, so that's option 2.
They,
Their option 2.
Their first recommendation was something that's more visible from the street, which is not entirely against, it's just recommended that when you can, to avoid the view from the right of way, is what the Secretary of Interior's guide says. So in this case, where they could have still production that's still viable from something that doesn't affect the view from the right of way, then that would obviously be better. And so they're giving you both options. Their first option would be to maximize production, but then there's a cost to the aesthetic from the right of way. But, the option 2, which we said is probably more likely that the board will be in favor of something that doesn't,
Although
can't see.
in our package, we only have one option.
And that's
So
the one
I
they're-
hesitate using the term option 2 for the one that's in our package. So maybe it's a former option and the present option.
It was not presented as two options. It was the initial recommendation from them when they
Mhm.
approached
Right.
staff, and after the discussion, they came up with this. And
So this is a
that's the
revised
reason-
plan,
Correct, that's the reason why I needed it.
so we're really only considering
the revised
the
plan.
revised plan.
Yeah, that'll work. We can drop just the production value, and then again, reason that we would prefer the south is because it is going to take a hit on cost savings for holdings, just because production's going to be lower, which means they're going to pull more from the grid, which in turn means they're going to pay more towards utility, rather than capturing as much energy as possible using the south end. So that's the only reason we propose it at first, but if it's an aesthetic issue, yeah, option 2 is
I have a question for Mr. Smith. Do you know that building is historic, the one that they're planning to put the panels on in their option 1?
So the corner of the building, which is on Washington and Santa Maria,
Right.
that is the oldest part of the building. That's the one that has a plaque on it,
Right.
1899. The rest of the building is a little bit newer. Like I said, the roof was actually redone in 2006 with newer materials, different types of materials. The original part on the corner, the roof was repaired a little bit, but it couldn't be done. The contractor who did the work said basically that portion of the building is so old that you would have to tear up the roof, and he said that's not allowed, so we just have to patch it here and there. So both of the sections that they're looking at, whether it's the exterior on Washington Street, which you drive by if you're going to Laredo College, or the interior, which is both on Washington and Santa Maria, both of those, either one would work for us. I can tell you, you would permit me to tell you why we're even doing this. So, Holding Institute, we spend currently about $25,000 a year on utilities alone. The majority of that is electricity because of cooling, really not heating costs, but cooling costs is like year round. We do have on campus, we have a nurse, a psychiatrist, an LPC. We have shelter areas where we shelter families right now, and so it's always packed. We're open 24/7, so our costs are pretty high. This particular project has taken us over 2 years to secure the funding because there's a lot of, it was difficult to find someone to partner with us to secure the funding. We've written many applications, grants, and we finally got funded through, actually, the one that brought this to our table, you'll be very surprised, was the NAACP. They're the ones that really spurred us forward and encouraged us and set up meetings for us and opened the doors for us through private funders, and they put the money together, the packet, and so they're the ones that encouraged us. The primary funding source is something called UMCOR, which is the United Methodist Committee on Relief, and then there's other partners that have associated with this. But our goal is to be able to reduce the costs and to be able to put that back in. So if I'm telling you our annual utility cost, which is primarily electricity, is about 25K, our annual operating budget is 135K. So it's a big portion of our annual budget. We would be able to put that cost saving directly back into the program. I can tell you that during the course of 2019, with the refugees that came from Central America and Africa, we served about refugees alone, about 13,500 people walked through that door, the corner of Santa Maria in Washington, and spent the night with us. In addition to that, our local population, so we serve an average of 80 families a week, local families, asking for food, and in addition to that, we have counseling services. We provide shelter space for families that need it, local families that need it. We only provide shelter space to families, so it has to be a family unit. In addition to that, we have people sleeping in our parking lot who don't want to leave their cars because that's what they have. So we provide food, we provide 3 meals a day, we have showers, we do counseling, we do academic outreach, literacy programs, hygiene, we do financial education, we do job training, job placement, and we have about 20 plus programs. So our hope is that whatever you decide, they've told you, they're the engineers, they know their preference. My goal is just to get it rolling so we can see the cost savings. One added benefit, as they mentioned about, there will be a garden in the southwest corner, which would be the corner of Washington and Davis. We've already started working on that garden where we're mixing multi-tier raised beds as well as hydroponics that will be powered by this solar project and will allow kids, anybody to come in and get hands-on feel. The produce that we grow goes directly to our kitchen. So it's not for sale or anything, it's consumed by the people that we serve. We do our own composting. Our other goal is there's a little space in there, right next to that round building, the gazebo, where our goal is to build an outdoor community laundromat. Many people in that neighborhood do not have washers or dryers, and that will also be powered by this energy source as well. So we're doing a lot. We appreciate your time and your effort on our behalf. And we've been here, unofficially, Holding has been in the community since 1860. And who was president in 1860?
You got it.
He's on your $5 bill. So,
Oh, okay.
yes, so Abraham Lincoln was president. So
Maybe I missed it, but what do you anticipate your annual utility cost will be after the project is completed?
well, if our expense right now is about $25K, and right off the bat we assume to save 40% of that, and then we've discussed that as the cost savings grows over time, and our efficiency will be improved as well, because we're not only do we want to do this to provide power, but we're looking at separately doing increased efficiency projects. In other words, replacing glass where it needs to be replaced, caulking, all of that stuff. So our hope, their projection for the solar energy savings is about 40%. Our projection, if we include the efficiency measures, is about 55%, which is considerable for us. If you look at our annual operating budget of about $135K, that's a big chunk for us. So it will help.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
Thank you.
Question for you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So we cannot vote for anything else other than what's on the agenda. Is that correct?
I'll turn that to
No,
Staff.
you have the discretion as the board to approve something that would be an alteration from what they presented. And so they brought you something preferred. If you would like to go with a different option, then you would give them direction on that motion, and you could make any motion as you see fit as a board.
I've been in that building. I don't think there's much historic.
No,
Fabric
when I
left.
worked there, the gazebo wasn't there yet, and they had been adding, this was 20 plus years ago. They were adding and adding and adding to the building. They had just re-renovated it. But I guess my concern is the people across the street, seeing them on Washington. I know that there's,
It's a commercial.
It's a commercial, it's an ugly commercial building there.
It's a limousine service.
It's a garage or something.
It's a garage. I live right next to it. I run by it all the time.
Yeah.
It's a really ugly building that doesn't serve a good purpose.
okay.
I
May I
really don't
ask
think
staff,
it
did we have
detracts.
any comments from the neighbors, from the,
I thank you
I
for
don't
all that
think
you
it
guys do
would
for the community.
detract, and if it's gonna maximize their plan, I think we should.
Is that what you're suggesting, is to do it on both sides?
To do it on the
I'd like
Washington
to-
side.
Yeah, that's, I agree, 100%. If it's gonna help them with the cost savings, I agree with you. The historical value to that building, it's not, I'm not trying to minimize it, but I get what you're saying.
Well, it's not impacting the historic section of the property. So I don't think it's detracting from anything.
And these can always be removed, is that correct? They're not permanent,
Oh, yeah.
No, no.
they're not gonna do any kind of damage to the building?
We do penetrate the roof, but as far as any alternative damages, no.
That can be fixed.
Right.
Okay.
So do we have a
Madam
motion?
Chair, I have a question of staff. So that, to you, it's okay, they did the alternative proposal to staff, and you didn't find anything that we shouldn't consider it or anything like that?
No, and just like if they would have presented their first option, but you said, oh, I don't like that it's visible from the street. We're okay that you do this, but move it to the other side. So you can also, your motion can give them direction that they can follow, and that we as staff can make sure they follow when they apply for their building permit.
Did
So-
staff verify the age of the building that they're mounting them on? I tried to go to the webcam, but it didn't give me the dates.
Do you have any idea when
Well, that part of the
that
building,
non-
I'm not sure, but I know we redid the entire roof of the entire complex, the L shape and everything in 2006.
Yeah, those classrooms were built fairly recently.
I would also like to add
They
that
look
there is,
brand new.
Yeah.
They don't look.
there is an
historic.
added benefit aside from the cost savings, in my opinion. There is an added benefit to have it visible. The added benefit is for the community to see a historical structure such as ours that is taking the leap forward in technology, providing to the community. So many people drive by to Laredo College campus every day, and I'm hoping that it piques their curiosity and they step into our building. Then they can see our gardens, they can see that, and kids can, hey, it's real, and what you get from the sun produces this, look at that tomato, or we have a lot of things we're growing, you can eat that, and it came because of this. So it's just a thought.
I guess whoever states the motion, once we close the public hearing, we should consider some wording so that this doesn't set a precedent for really historic buildings and historic neighborhoods, like, oh, you let them put it on the street, why can't I put it on the street? I just think we have to
Good point.
be
Yes,
very
it's a very
careful
good
on
point.
how it's worded, because we are making an exception. Staff recommended something else because the standard is something else, but I just think that we need to be careful if we are gonna allow it. from the
Is this a
street.
nonprofit?
Yes.
Maybe that can be in the wording, maybe something.
Well, something to the
nonprofit.
effect of, since it's not on a historical part of the building, kind of wording. I don't know. Mrs. Sepulveda, I'm looking at you because it was your.
It truly is like a mixed use.
Yeah.
Like you have historical and non-historical. And I know your building is purely historical, and mine is too, so I have no way of hiding any panels. in
Right.
mine. And it's just a block away from yours.
Right.
Can
And
I just provide a little more information so that help you feel safe with making this decision and being comfortable with what you're going into the future? What comes from the Secretary of Interior is guidelines. So they're not standards, but they're guidelines. And the guideline that it provides is that installing mechanical or service equipment on the roof, such as heating, air conditioning, or solar panels, when required, so that they are inconspicuous on the site and from the public right-of-way, and do not damage or obscure the character-defining historic features. That's the recommended. What's not recommended is installing rooftop mechanical or service equipment, such as the solar panels, so that it damages or obscures character-defining roof features. So it's not even that, even if this was a historic structure, you're given guidance, not a standard, but guidance that you don't want to obscure the part of a roof or a roof that is character defining. For instance, if this was a beautiful tile roof, that should be seen differently than if this was a new roof installed, a metal roof installed in 2006. It doesn't have historical character, even though the structure has historical character. Then our staff recommendation would be that's not as important as protecting a beautiful tile roof that's older and actually historic. So you definitely have discretion here.
Any other questions?
we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have any more discussion, or do we have a motion on the side?
The
I'd like,
architects and-
I move that we approve the applicant's request for their new option one to them. Okay, specifically, the panels would be on the roof facing Washington Street and also in their parking area. Is that correct? Okay.
And in the courtyard.
That
Or
these
not in the
structures,
courtyard.
No, just, yeah.
and our recommendation is that since these structures are not historic, that these solar panels will not detract from any historic values of the structure or nearby buildings or.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
How soon are you gonna get to work?
As soon as we get the green light, honestly,
The stuff to go through the planning,
Yeah.
it's to go through the.
we're excited.
Comments? We have
Tricia
Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm just going to have a couple of maps, just a map.
Woman of the year? Interesting.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the Landmark Board and staff. My name is Tricia Cortez. I'm with the Rio Grande International Study Center. We're an environmental nonprofit here in Laredo. And I'm here basically to, what I have before you is a map of historic cemeteries that the city of Laredo, I don't know if they're historic cemeteries, that designation, but the city of Laredo has prepared this map. And I'm here because we are involved with the fast-moving developments regarding the border wall. There is a sense of urgency as this moves quickly, and we're very interested in making sure that we can protect and preserve these historic sites. Congressman Henry Cuellar, in December of this past year, wrote in legislation that exempts historic cemeteries as it relates to wall construction. And as you know, things are moving very quickly for Webb and Zapata. So the request of the board is to see if we can officially designate these cemeteries as historic, and also find out if there might be any other potentially historic cemeteries that are not listed here or on an official map that could get designated.
Ms. Cortez?
Yes.
Madam Chair, are we open for questions?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Cortez, are you merely
Can I-
limiting this?
Sorry, just a point of order. Because this wasn't an item that's noticed, we can put it on the agenda for next time. If you, just as a reminder, to take any motion on this, just know that we'll need to notice this for the next time so that we can do that.
Can we ask questions? Can we ask questions but not make a motion?
That would be up to the chairwoman.
Let me ask for a motion allowing us to ask questions.
I move that
We
be
have a-
permitted to ask questions.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion.
Ms. Cortez, welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
Are you limiting this request merely to the cemeteries that have been identified along, as insofar as they are within the Laredo city limits? Or are you also asking for, like, for example, the city cemetery and Calvary?
No, mainly along the river, along, I guess what would be, there would have to be a designation because of the floodplain, but say anywhere sort of the designations they've thrown out is 150 feet, but sometimes the floodplain extends beyond that. So, I don't know how far out from the river, but say, 500 feet or so. But those that are along the river, not inside the city, outside of that area.
Because our jurisdiction is only within Laredo proper.
Okay.
When you said Henry, took steps to exempt the, what does that mean?
So in December, there was legislation that Congress passed, and one of those, and the language was left very broad. It was just to exempt historic cemeteries that would avoid the path of the wall, of wall construction. Right now, the plans for the wall is to do at least 100 feet on either side that they want to clear out, and then have the structure in the middle, as well as, large-scale lights and things like that. So there is a large swath that we're talking about of 150 feet on either side of this 30-foot steel and concrete structure.
Well, many of these, I could see what Ms. Romani's saying, but yes, definitely number one, which is San Jose de Palafox, Darwin, Dolores, Lerma family, all along the river. Of course, once you get into Rio Bravo and El Cenizo, that's already not within the city limits, but there are definitely certain, some there that may already be designated. And the reason why I say that, and I had this conversation with staff earlier, is that, well, this map comes from this publication that was paid for with certified local government grants from the National Park Service. And it was an item that was sponsored by the City of Laredo Landmark Board, Parks and Recreation from the city, the Planning Department, the Archaeological Society, Webb County Heritage Foundation, and Webb County Historical Commission. And basically they made a preservation plan for the cemeteries, which in my sense, I asked Alejandrina earlier, does that mean that they are already locally designated? Because my understanding is that this new legislation will allow for even a local designation.
Yes.
To be protected. So I guess what we need to do as a board is, at least the ones that we do have jurisdiction over, to at least see if they are locally designated, because they might already be. Right. And from what I'm understanding, we need to find out if an ordinance was passed because of this publication, which I assume it may have or may have not been. There is a statement on here that if it is on public land, it's automatically designated through the Texas Antiquities Code, and we know that that's part of Las Islitas because the Max Mandel Golf Course is on there. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of just seeing which ones are actually designated, and if they do fall in our jurisdiction. As a board, it's been a long time since we've locally designated anything. Yeah. So it might be time to not only include cemeteries, but maybe ranches, buildings, other things that we've been asking ourselves to do for a very long time.
And I think,
Madam Chair, if I can, just a point of order again. It's okay, a couple simple follow-up questions, but now that y'all are deliberating amongst yourselves, you should put this on the item. If you're interested, we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and y'all can then deliberate and discuss.
Mr. Snyderman, if I can add on that one, that really, based on this map, the only things that we could really look at, because they are within the Laredo, number one is 30 miles out of Laredo, so that would not be within our purview. That would be within Webb County, but not us. But we will probably be looking at 2, 3, and 5.
It might be in the extraterritorial
Yes,
jurisdiction.
it's just a matter of getting with staff and having more information so that we can properly present it to staff and move forward with getting them the information. And I understand that it's time sensitive, so
yeah,
we could do that.
So we can either put it in the next month's agenda, or we can call a special meeting to address this.
Is action imminent on some of these?
Well, right now they're trying to get the right of entry to do all the site assessments and surveys and soil samples. So that's happening like right now. I know that the city council at their last meeting in January, they did deny right of entry onto city property. But I don't know if that was just specific to downtown, a section within downtown. I don't know if the city has authorized right of entry on their other properties along the river. I don't know just yet.
I guess the question, Madam Chair, would be, how soon do we need to consider?
There is, it is urgent. There is a sense of urgency with this, for sure.
I guess ask our board if you all want to have a special meeting to address this.
I would say, but historically, it's been very difficult for us to get a quorum at a special meeting.
Well,
As
we'll
you
poll
all know.
right now, those that would be able to attend a quorum, or to have a quorum on a special meeting.
For a noon meeting?
A noon meeting, yes.
For like next week or so?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Anybody want to raise their hand? and they can-
How long do you need, Alejandrina?
72 hours.
72. Do you have a special meeting? Special club meeting?
You will have to request a special meeting. The special meetings, remember, we need the 72 hours, but in order to be a public hearing, if you're gonna make that request, we need to back up on what it's gonna be discussed.
Basically, we need to do the research because city doesn't have the archives that backs up whether this was passed into ordinance or not. So I know the Heritage Foundation has archives, but it's a matter of going in and
A week may not be enough.
and a week might not be enough. That's my concern because if something does go through, I would hate for a special meeting to be called and then we don't have
Yeah.
the resources.
Then maybe not at the regular meeting.
Isn't there
we will have
a
it.
master listing of city ordinances?
Is there?
Where we could go to that and
Contact
Maybe-
the city secretary.
City secretary?
for that.
I wish legal would be here. But I would, because there does require some extensive research. And for the record, my late father, and I were involved, he more so than I was. So I need to look at the cash that, he left behind as far as his personal papers, because he had been appointed to the newly constituted cemetery board. So I have to also dig through his archives.
But we could call a special meeting anytime, right? Like if I say, oh, I found what I'm looking for, can you post a special?
The chairperson can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
let
if
me know.
I'll let her know, like we found what we're looking for. Tere?
Yeah, speak to, the proper way to do it would be to speak to the chairperson. Chairperson would communicate with staff, we'd look at scheduling of rooms, check in with quorum with everybody.
Okay.
Are we
So-
married to Thursday for a special meeting?
Well, again, the
Solid-
proper way to
it's
do it would be
72
to
hours.
discuss with
No,
the
no,
chair.
to a Thursday.
For the regulars meeting, yes.
Yes.
Right, no, but for a special
For a
meeting,
special
we're not
meeting,
meeting.
it can be
Any day of the week.
As long as you have 72.
Because yeah, because Thursdays are typically training days where I work. Then,
That's something that we
Yeah.
can
yeah,
do.
so.
Okay. Well, we thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much, and for all of the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, Trish.
Mr. Snyder, would it be proper then to entertain a motion?
I don't think we can
No,
entertain
we
any
can't
motions.
do
No.
No, to add this to a meeting. No.
So
No, but you don't
we'll-
need a motion, the chairwoman can request a special meeting, work with staff to get that scheduled.
Yeah, give me a couple days to look it up.
Okay. Okay. So we're gonna close citizen comments.
Move to close it.
A second. To close citizens' comments.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. So the next item is item 6, directors' comments.
Yes, just very quickly, as always, thank you all very much for your service, appreciate it very much. We reached out to the THC, to the state, to get someone to come down and provide training for all of the board, all those that can attend, and they can come down for the April 9th meeting, the regularly scheduled.
Mr. Snyder, I spoke to those at the state as well. This is Holy Week. So,
Well, all I'm bringing this as an option. If this option won't work, then we can go back to the THC and look for another date.
yeah,
But
because
if this works as an option, the THC will come down. I'll combine that with the training I'll provide on the ordinance and on Robert's rules and, things that will just be helpful for you as a board.
And that would be
So-
at 6 p.m.?
That would be the regular scheduled time.
Yeah.
We would put on. Now, if we don't make quorum, it's okay, because we can still present, you just wouldn't be able to make any decisions. But of course, we want to do this when most people can attend. So if this is not a good date, let us know. We'll figure out another date that we can schedule a training on and combine it with historic training with also kind of procedural training as well.
yeah, because for me, it's not going to work because it is Holy Thursday, religious purposes.
Okay.
And for everyone else?
Fine. Yeah. Take off Holy Friday.
can't-
Yeah.
Holy Thursday.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So I think we have a conflict with several members.
Okay, we'll look at other,
We can look.
at other options, but just glad to let you all know that we definitely want to get you the training and get the most board members trained that we can, and not only with the historic aspect, but also with procedural stuff, so.
Will this also count towards the COG
Yes,
that we
the-
were supposed to have had in January?
Yeah, when the state comes down, that will meet that requirement for all the board members. Okay, we'll look for other dates.
Okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
A second? All in favor?
Aye. I wanted to ask Mr. Smart